The Cal Golden Bears have already pulled off one of the bigger upsets so far in the college football season, but is the best yet to come?
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, we're going to bring on our Cal expert who can show us the receipts because Kenton and I think especially me, didn't have a lot of faith that Cal would pull it off against Auburn last week, and they haven't even played an ACC game yet. They've already pulled off a massive upset. We'll talk about what's next for the Cal Golden Bears. We'll recap how they were able to get it done at Auburn last week. And, Kenton, do you think Cal could be a dark horse contender now in the conference?
Absolutely not. No. Cal cannot be a dark horse candidate. I mean, a win over Auburn, that's a big deal. But again, I think that we're all underestimating how much that travel will take a toll. I think we are all greatly underestimating. We have never seen, this is not the most travel miles a college team has went in this year or the last 5. This is ever in the history of college football since its inception. Never has a team gone as far as often as they're going to have to do. So I think that they'll be better than most people originally predicted. But if I'm talking about are they actually a contender, I would say no. Can they be a spoiler that we thought SMU was going to be? For sure. I will 1,000% say that. This team can 1,000% show up and knock over the punch bowl at a few teams' party.
Well, our guest today is making his triumphant return. He is a Cal Golden Bears alum, Cal super fan, an author. He's got the receipts right there.
Physical receipts, ladies and gentlemen. He has physical receipts.
Lawrence Ross is back, and yeah, Lawrence, you even saw the prediction that I made on Locked On Auburn.
Yes, I did.
I didn't give Cal much credit. I was happy to see y'all pull it off, though. I was.
It's something. It's look, I understand. Cal belief is something is a slow burn. You have to come into it slowly because Oski, you can't go against Oski. He wants to actually win. No, I mean I come back with receipts in a very, very fun way. Everyone we already know as a Cal fan, we know people kind of have a stereotype of what they think we are, right? And what I tried to say during the previous was, I think I said we have a deeper running back room than we just have Jay Knott. I said we have a senior latent DBs, right? I think Kenton was asking about the lines, and I said in the past our linebackers basically fill holes, and basically we just are faster and more athletic. We kind of destroyed, Auburn's line. We didn't. Wilcox is not about really sacks, by the way. Wilcox is about pressures. Wilcox is about getting pressures and moving the quarterback out of the comfort zone. So always, look at it from that standpoint. I think maybe in Wilcox's tenure, 8 years, we maybe had like 1 or 2 really good edge rushers, who were getting sacks. So, and then he puts, that takes less pressure on the DBs. And that's the reason why we get a lot of DBs. Remember, Wilcox is originally a DB coach. So all of that, and combined with the fact that, Cal as a road warrior underneath Wilcox is pretty damn good. And I predicted exactly what would happen prior to playing Auburn. I put it out there about how Wilcox would actually win. And there's the tweet. I was like, Cal strangles teams who don't expect it. And they're going to turn it into a rock fight. And really, I said 31-20. We missed 2 field goals.
You're close.
And Auburn should not, maybe, you could actually say there are 2 touchdowns. One, I'm still not convinced that the receiver had established themselves in the in play when they got the touchdown. That would have been 4th down. They'd kicked the field goal. And that wasn't a PI, for the one that Thorne eventually ran it in. It was a interception. So it should have been around 24-3, 24-7. Let's just say around there in terms of it. But no, I mean, and we were down. We're still down. We haven't played our starting receiver yet. 2 starting receivers yet. We have 2 starting offensive linemen who haven't played yet. We have our David Reese who hasn't played. Well, he's kind of played. And then it's hobbled. So it's one of those things that we're not really understanding the talent level that's on Cal, but more importantly, the mentality that's on the Cal football team right now. That's the difference. If this was the Pac-12, I would already know which ones were going to be the almost we cannot win, right? The Oregon, Washington, listening to the damn air horn, sea horn go off at Washington is still the haunts my dreams. We don't know going into the ACC which ones are going to be the ones that were, oh my God, we were just overwhelmed, right? It could be North Carolina State, Kenton. I mean, despite the Tennessee thing,
Tennessee thing. Yeah, that was a whooping. You ain't got to call it a thing. You can call it what it is.
But for Cal, we are not good enough. And I want everybody up there who's like, Cal has only played 2 games. And, look, I'm not saying that we're going to win every game. I said on the thing, I said between Auburn, Florida State, and Miami, we'd win one.
Right.
Well, we won that one. Now we win. We go game. Cal is the ultimate game-by-game team. And if you get ahead of yourself with irrational exuberance, you will get burned. And I don't care what time of the year it is, you will get burned. Just play it, feel good, and let the social media and our memes go in between the games, and we're going to be happy as a Cal fan.
I got to say something here because you said that Justin Wilcox's defense is designed not to get sacks, but to get you out of your comfort zone. Is Jordan Hare Stadium Peyton Thorne's comfort zone that he was outside of? Because that brother, did you switch his contacts before the game, Lawrence? Did you put your own subscription? And the young man he was finding wide open Cal DBs everywhere.
Hey, look, it is our job to catch the ball that is thrown. It is not our job to make your guy not make good decisions. Our guy, Fernando Mendoza, is an absolute gem. In the fact that I was mentioning before, if you ever watch interviews of Fernando, he is the guy you want representing your university. He is earnest. He deflects credit, and he literally will go through everyone at a position which made the success of whatever the question is, right? But he also is not too big for the moment. And Cal has always had success. We've had the Aaron Rodgers and the Jared Goffs of the world, but we've also had success with manager quarterbacks. Chase Garbers, Nate Longshore, Kevin Riley, the ones who don't even come up on the radar for most college football fans, but keep the ball moving down the field, who make the right decisions, who, last year he was thrown in as the 3rd string, scout team quarterback. That's the reason why his numbers are skewed. He was literally coming in and just trying to slow things down. Now, this is a kid who learns and is not really tripping off the moment. Not at all.
Well, I loved what I saw, and I wonder if it's only going to get better, or will Cal have their ups and downs this year? We'll talk with Lawrence about what happens next. Now, next is San Diego State, and then after that, they start the ACC schedule, so things are going to get really, really interesting. My friends, we're only getting started. You want to keep it locked right here. Alex Dono, Kenton Gibbs, Lawrence Ross with you on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. I'm only getting started with eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive with ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. We are also proudly brought to you by Factor Meals. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. I hate prep. I love Factor's no prep time. No matter how busy you are, you will always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. 35 different meals, and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. You'll always have new flavors to explore. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you do whatever you want to do, whether it's manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check Kenton out at Locked On Wolfpack. Make sure you check me out at Locked On Canes. And we're so happy to have Lawrence Ross with us. So Lawrence, again, huge win against an SEC opponent. As Kenton mentioned, a lot of big cross country flights. Auburn being the first of many for Cal this year. What would you like to see against San Diego State on Saturday before you start that ACC schedule the following week against Florida State?
So the big thing I think all Cal fans are kind of worried about is whether or not the kids are locked on, right? There's a lot of hype, a lot of energy, all the rest of the stuff. Wilcox has a really good way of really giving it 24 hours and then going, okay, this is what we do. But there was something that Fernando Mendoza said during the press conference, and he talked about the fact that oftentimes Cal wouldn't close out games like this, right? There would be like Auburn, it would be like, oh, we played a really good game the year before. We played a really good game, but we were only 4 points away from doing stuff. And what we call typical, right? Typical, you come close, but you're not really there. They're aware of that, and that's a very important trait. It's one thing to be able to I'm going to overcome something. They're very aware of the fact that games like San Diego State are the ones that they would normally trip up. I'm going to be interested to see whether or not they come out sharp from the very beginning. And this is a night game, so this is basically a continuation of Pac-12 After Dark, just ACC version. So it kind of gets scary. But shout out to, in terms of, like I told you in the past, that Cal is going through an existential threat, meaning that we have to win. This is not one of those things where we can kind of glide in ACC. We have to prove our value. And the university, including our chancellor, big shout out to Rich Lyons, who took a suggestion about giving free tickets out to students and everything to re-engage the campus back with Cal football. Those are really good signs. Now, do they all translate to winning on Saturday? I think Cal will win on Saturday. It's still going to be, it won't be one of those things where you go, oh, Cal broke out with a 48-17 win. No, it'll still be a Wilcox 28-17 slugfest type of deal. But it will be the same steady type of game that they're going to take into Florida State. Now, as for the travel, I think Cal is actually taking it as being a challenge, right? Instead of kind of like, oh my God, we've got this. I think their mentality is professionalism. We're going to be professional. We know exactly what we're going to do. Exactly, our schedules are really thought out, and we're going to take that into our routine. Yes, travel is going to be a big deal. This is going to be an experiment. And I think, between Stanford and SMU, all of them are going to basically have different responses to that travel, depending on how good you are. If you've got good players, hey, you know what? You can play at, Syracuse, with a distance as long as it's not at 9 a.m. That's the only time that Cal has really been, when Cal played Maryland way back with Javid Best. We played at 9 a.m. Maryland time, and I think Javid ended up throwing up on the field after a hit.
Wow!
So we want to avoid that. But the FSU game, I think, has been announced for 4:00 Eastern time. So that's 1 o'clock.
1 p.m. in y'all time.
Okay, that's 1 o'clock. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's actually 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. So that'll be fine. Yeah,
that's in their sleep cycle. That's not anything that's a lot of times the East Coast teams, they set it up for a 7:30 game, so they're starting at 10:30. So there's an automatic advantage on the West Coast time. But as long as that occurs, I think, let me put it over here. If Cal gets this is all the gods coming together. If Cal gets to the Miami game unbeaten, then College Game Day will come for the first time to Berkeley.
I would love that.
For a Cal top 10 ranked Miami game, and it will be rocking at Memorial Stadium.
I'll tell you what, that would be a hell of a ball game. That would be because by that time, I love to tell people throughout a game, if you let a lesser opponent kind of hang in, they get confidence. The same thing happens with teams. It doesn't matter if they're lesser or better. A team that is 6-0, 7-0, if you take that same team to 3-4, they feel different.
Yeah.
The ice ain't as cold, the water ain't as funny, the drinks don't taste as good, the women ain't as pretty. Nothing's as good. Nothing's as good when you're losing. But when you're winning, you start to feel yourself. The chest start to swell up. Your posture get right.
Yeah, and then Cal is almost, we've got a squad of people from everywhere. But in essence, Cal is an Oakland Bay Area team. You know, Javian Thomas, who you saw, who backed up Ott, is from McClymonds, right? And, Marshawn Lynch is an Oakland guy, right? And all these kids are Oakland guys. So it has a real big effect on, for example, keeping the talent that's in the Bay going to Cal. And it used to be in the Pac-12, those people would be picked apart by Washington, Oregon, and UCLA and USC. Now that's a distinctive personality of us being the ACC. It's a different thing that we can present. We can say, hey, you come to Cal, you can play in Miami, or you can play Florida State, or you can play all these, or Clemson. You can play these teams. And this is the reason why the back end of leaving the Pac-12, we still consider it to be a tragedy to leave the Pac-12. Yeah. But I think we had the best deal of them all, even with the travel, because think of others, UCLA is going to get lost in the Big 12, the Big 10. They're going to get lost. And their brand is they're going to make money, but their brand is going to suffer. This is one way for Cal to actually reimagine our brand. And that's what we're doing. And shout out, by the way, to all the burners out there in the social media who are letting people understand that Cal is not only funny with the social memes, but very smart in our memes in terms of how we do them.
You guys do have great memes. I'm learning that. I am. Go ahead, Ken.
I'm so confused. You mean to tell me that players would rather play at Miami than at Camp Randall in Wisconsin?
And guess what? You know what? Some of those Miami players look at California to go, hey, you know what? I can get the sun without the humidity.
Mendoza, Fernando Mendoza, Miami kid.
He is a Miami kid. He's a Miami kid. And he was joking about, he said every time that he played in high school, it felt like it was raining. So he was just like, he was soaked from the humidity, right? But he was like, we can handle it. And I think, everyone in this scenario, and I'm a big English football fan. I'm a Manchester United fan, right? And this scenario reminds me of like 30 years ago when all the, the realignment of all the English clubs, from the top to the bottom. But there has been a development of those teams that had been traditionally have been making smarter decisions, and then they start to challenge. Doesn't mean that they win a championship, but they start to challenge. And a little to Kenton's point, in that I don't know if Cal is going to be, challenging to go to Charlotte, but I do know they'll probably be an 8 to 9 win team and be in the mix. And I don't know whether or not it's going to be the I spoiled somebody else's thing. I wonder whether or not they won't get to the mountaintop because they just straight up lose, right? They just lose a game that, I think I told y'all, Wake Forest is the one, a Friday game. That's the one I see Cal maybe not winning, right?
Wow.
Bad schedule, on the road, the last of, the games. And that's kind of the Oregon State-ish type of team. Either they're kind of really good or they're not so good, but they always at their home play out of their head because they have, orange night or black and gold night or whatever it is. And it just kind of sweeps the other team away. That's the game that I kind of circle and I look and I say, man, that may be a game that I think we should win, but won't win because of the Friday night and the end of travel.
Yeah, something I wanted to get your reaction to, Lawrence, is now that it's not going to look like what it used to, but the Pac-12, they're making a comeback. Like they're about to add 4 teams. They're looking at adding at least 2 more to get to that minimum number of 8. Now, I've already seen some some nameless people on social media trying to link Cal and Stanford to go back into the Pac-12. And my follow-up question would be how? Like, if it was that easy to leave the ACC, Florida State and Clemson wouldn't be in court right now.
Right. It will never happen. Granted rights, regardless. Cal and Stanford, and you can call this elitist or whatever you want, right? But Cal and Stanford will only associate themselves with top tier research universities. And this is nothing against the universities that are in the new Pac-12, but this is the reason why they didn't ask the Colorado States of the world and even the San Diego States, which had kind of risen within the Cal State system, academically, to become a member. I always talk about, and the folks who are doing it, I understand why they're doing it. It usually is Oregon State fans who are doing it, because we're kind of like I said, it's like we're kind of like Will Smith in Fresh Prince when his dad came and didn't want him, and he's swinging at the air. It's like, why don't they want me? In terms of, they had a better football record than Cal and Stanford, right? And yet we got picked up. But we're, the new Pac-12 is a little bit like an ex-wife, right? Getting married, right? You wish her well, you have no more love for her, and you're not coming back. And we're not coming back. Even if the ACC imploded, I would venture to guess that Cal and Stanford would rather go independent, seriously, than go back to a Pac-12 in which they were in the midst of Boise State, San Diego State, and Fresno State. And particularly Stanford with Fresno State, because Fresno State is kind of like in their recruiting imprint too. So that wouldn't happen. So that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
He really meant it about that ex-wife, because he started talking like HR. Whenever you start doing that in the interpersonal relation, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
No, I've been happily married for 32 years, so I don't want them talking trouble.
You've seen it enough. You've seen it enough with your old boy,
right? Where a brother who's been married to somebody and they get married, and you look at their face and you ask, "Well, you don't have any emotion about it?" He was like, "I wish them well." Then they drink the beer. So
I hope them all the success and all the full moons in their future union. That's all I've got to say about it. Thank you.
Ken will know this. I've been married to a Delta for 32 years, so it ain't. I ain't going nowhere.
You ain't leaving if you wanted to. You ain't leaving. You staying right there.
I'm staying
right there. I got you. I got you.
Either I'm here or she gonna strip me broke. so those are the things. So no, it's I was saying beforehand, by the way, Alex, Ken, y'all have to go into our social media and find one of our social media folks who are doing a lot of wonderful things, and get them a Locked On Cal show.
Yeah.
They do wonderful work. They're not me. I don't have enough time, but I'll be happy to come visit. But go get them. They are so funny and so representative of kind of like what it means to go to Cal, beyond the football, that I think it would be a great addition to the Locked On family.
I agree. We need it. Lawrence, I appreciate you so much for taking the time. Anything you want to plug? Where can people find you on social?
Oh, you can always find me on social, Alpha 1906 on my Twitter feed. You can find that on my Instagram, and just come by and say hello. I'll be happy to say hello on you.
Absolutely. For Kenton Gibbs, Kenton, of course, hosts Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Dono from Locked On Canes, and for the great Lawrence Ross, we will talk to everyone again next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We're part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.